100 portfolio stages and sectors. A few weeks back, EthAum and BOOQED hosted a thought leadership panel to discuss innovations, trends, and policies that are transforming the real estate and real estate sustainability space. Today, we are hosting a pretty unique and exciting event where subject matter experts will roast BOOQED on solution, competitive landscape, differentiation, and go-to-market strategy. You may be wondering why BOOQED wants to go through such a process, that too publicly. It's because we truly believe in receiving brutal feedback, learning from it, improving, and growing. And needless to say, CEO of BOOQED, David, is extremely bold, and he's taking this audacious initiative to learn from the experts on the public forum. BOOQED is one of the portfolio startups that we onboarded in July 2023 cohort. They offer private sound insulating and affordable cubic booths that are powered by analytics dashboard and space management capabilities. Now I would request David to do a brief introduction of himself, and then I would request jurors to introduce themselves. David, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pankaj, for the intro. Again, my name is David. I'm co-founder and CEO of BOOQED. We started BOOQED back in 2017, really on a mission to be able to connect people looking for short-term workspaces with space that was available. Obviously, the COVID kind of put a bit of a pin in those plans. It's hard to really run a business when all of your partners have actually closed shop. You're not allowed to do meetings or go out to work. And this resulted in a bit of a pivot for us. We still run our marketplace, and that is a continued foundation of our business. But now we're actually moving into working with real estate developers and enterprises to be able to help them to create and very easily manage flexible workspaces while saving them probably up to about 60 or 70% off the cost for traditional renovation. So really look forward to your feedback and just being able to attend this event today.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, David. Katarzyna, may I request you to make introduction, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Katarzyna, and I'm based in Warsaw, Poland, when I'm head of ESG and sustainability for Savills. And I've been in the sustainability industry since 2007, so it's over 15 years of experience in sustainability and what we now call ESG.
Right. When the sustainability was not so hot, not so much hype. So really
not so reported, let's say
not
it,
so
and not so formalized, yeah?
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Katarzyna. Atta, may I request you to go ahead, please?
Sure. My name is Atta. I'm the CEO of Academia Park, which is an innovation campus in East London, and we help companies expand into the UK. So we're basically a market entry partner. And I really appreciate that you accepted me into this group. So looking forward to it.
Appreciate your time, Atta. Alida, may I request you to go ahead, please?
My name is Alida Saleh. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
My name is Alida Saleh, and I'm the head of sustainability for JLL for the Middle East and Africa regions. I'm also the senior advisor for the Climate Champions team for COP28. And I'm very, very excited to be here today. I've been on the journey just like Katerina for a very long time, over 15 years. And I feel like we're in a space where it's really nice to be able to see the ambition that's happening and the interest within the sustainability field. So I'm looking forward to the discussions today. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Alida. Shashi, do you want to go ahead, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Myself, Sasi Dharan. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and right now I'm working on NextUp. It's a business operating system, all-in-one business tool to manage startups and small businesses. And I've been in this journey for almost like 10 years, and I love to sit and discuss with a lot of startup founders as well to learn as well, and then like share my feedbacks. So thanks, Pankaj, for giving us this opportunity, and looking forward for the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Shashi. Matt, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Peach. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. And I've spent the last 15, 16 years of my 30-year professional career with early stage companies, taking them to exit, fundraise, accelerating growth, and they're always in the high-tech innovative space. I'm currently the president of Just Light, which is a smart light therapy lamp And really excited to be here, learn about the product, and seeing if we can dig in a little bit.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. I know that Angela could not join back, so she can join whenever she's available. But David, why don't we go ahead, start sharing a bit more about BOOQED, and probably get questions from the panelists. So please share your screen.
Sure, let me go ahead and do that. Can you all see this?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time today, and especially Matt, who's waking up in the middle of the night. So, great. Well, look, let me get started. I'd like you to introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Ben. And Ben's the CEO of a fast-growing tech company in Hong Kong. Last year, he actually moved his team from a co-working space into his very own office. But Ben had a number of problems: lack of meeting space, fitting everyone into his office with all the growth that his team was experiencing, and post-COVID, managing a bunch of people who were not coming into the office but working from home. So he thought about renovating to create some meeting spaces and some offices, but he was really put off by the cost. It was extremely expensive. He was always also worried about spending money now because in Hong Kong, leases tend to be sort of 2 or 3 years as opposed to 6 or 7 in the US. And so he was worried about spending money now when his lease was going to expire in a year or so. So Ben's dilemma actually reflects some common pain points in commercial real estate. First of all, office decisions can actually be pretty nightmarish. Companies are forced to anchor their growth assumptions in office leases that can extend over multiple years. If you get it wrong, it means either you have too much space and you're wasting resources, or you don't have enough. Secondly, the rise in work from home has knock-on effects on companies in terms of how they manage their teams and also how they get the most out of their real estate assets. And with costs, renovation costs of $200 per square foot for traditional renovations and fit outs, it also means that there is a need for more flexibility and speed. But what if I told you that you could build flexibility into your office at 70% less than the cost of traditional renovations? What if you could gain access to key data analytics to maximize the use of your office assets? And what if you could do all of this in days or weeks rather than months? So I'm David. I'm co-founder and CEO of BOOQED, and we solve these problems through our Workplace to Go solution. It's a modular platform that comprises both hardware and software that enables companies and landlords to easily set up and manage fully automated workspaces in their existing offices and buildings. Here's how it works. So you start off with a warm shell, and any warm shell in any office or any building will do. You pick the modular furniture that you need. You add in our technology, our access control, our booking technology, and occupancy sensors to be able to automate the space. And then finally, you can actually manage the space with our mission control platform, which also includes sensors, data analytics on how each desk and space is actually being used. And with that, you get a fully functioning automated co-working or hybrid workspace. Now, our business model is simple and transparent. One-off charges for hardware and monthly SaaS fees for the software. For certain use cases, we also do revenue sharing. Now, we launched our first product, our Smart Boost, in May 2021. Today, we have clients across property, education, financial, and healthcare sectors. Clients such as Tandem Properties, who is turning an empty space in an apartment block in Toronto that they manage into an automated workplace amenity for residents who are working from home. Or Hong Kong's Polytechnic University, whose continuing education department is converting their entire office, actually 2 floors, into a tech-enabled work and meeting space using Workplace to Go. And they use BOOQED because our solution has been proven to either increase revenues or asset values through amenities and monetization opportunities, or reducing costs through automation, rapid deployment, and decreased renovation expenses. But that's just the start. So here's our playbook and how we're planning to scale in the next 24 months. First, we could actually be tripling our inbound lead funnel by investing more in events and growth campaigns. Secondly, we've developed channel partnerships with a number of systems integrators and office furniture and design firms in our core markets. We can grow even faster by extending these partnerships internationally. And actually, we are in the process of being able to launch in the United States and Canada right now. Then there's this. We're actually working on making sure that our software can work with any office furniture system, existing meeting rooms or workspaces in a building or office. And what this does is this increases our addressable market even more. So I'm David. I've grown startups in Asia and in Europe. My co-founders, Charles, who has deep operations background from private equity, and Ken. He was part of the team that developed the contactless card system that's being used by the Beijing Metro. Between us, we have 3 exits from previous startups and 6 patents. Now, earlier I talked about my friend Ben. He solved his problem with our access control and booth systems. In the first month after installation, our data was showing that his new spaces were actually being used on average 6 hours a day. That's pretty high utilization. His team loved them. So he ended up buying a couple of extra booths. Now he's just moved his team into a new office and moved our systems along with him. So instead of having to tear everything out and putting it into the dumpster, he was able to actually install it in this new space. So we're actually helping to future-proof his workplace. Office space is becoming a service made to fit business strategies where productivity is synonymous with tech-enabled collaboration. Our vision is of a future workplace that is as easy and plug and play as any other outsourced tech stack within a company. Now we're scaling rapidly. We're seeking pilot opportunities with real estate developers, education institutions, or Fortune 1000 corporates in Asia and North America, as well as potential channel and financing partners. Let me end by this. Flexibility in real estate doesn't have to cost the earth. So talk to us to find out how we can help. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, David. That was a very quick and crisp pitch. Let's start taking questions. Who wants to go first?
So, David, love the pitch. Really
Thank
good, succinct, and to the point. I love the concept as well. Curious, in coming out of COVID, when office space has become so readily available and much cheaper, how has that caused you to have to shift in terms of how you market to the in-office companies that can get to office space fairly for a fairly significant reduction in cost?
Yeah, so actually, and that's a really good point, Matt. What we see actually is, although there's been a couple of interesting trends here, right? One is in most major markets in the world, Hong Kong, Singapore, I think a lot of markets in the US, there is an increase in vacancy, but we're also seeing a flight to quality. So in other words, if I'm a company, my lease is up for renewal, I will take this opportunity to move from that grade B building and maybe to a grade A building, right? So, we're seeing a lot of that. So there's a lot of pain, especially instead of the grade B or grade C buildings. But what this still doesn't mitigate is actually the cost of the renovation itself. So I mentioned earlier, and I was shocked by this, but, in Hong Kong, Singapore, actually average in major markets in North America as well, the cost of renovation and fit out is around $200 per square foot. Then you add in, say, the reinstatement cost, that might be another $40, $50 when you move out. It's extremely expensive, right? And then there's the time that you lose when, just while they're kind of putting up the walls and whatnot. So what we're actually seeing with our solution is it's an opportunity. So as companies are actually moving into new offices, rather than having to build up new walls and stick in glass and whatever, they can actually use our system to tech enable their workspace. What that also does is it allows them a chance to look, in a sense, I mean what I said, when it's future proofing it, they don't need to rip everything out afterwards. They simply, take it down and they can reinstall all of our kit and our technology in their new office. So what in essence it's allowing us to do is we look at this as kind of a real opportunity to be able to take advantage of companies that aren't take advantage of the opportunity presented by companies that are moving to new workspaces because of cheaper rents and whatnot, but being able to equip them with the tools and with the furniture and the hardware and the technology that they need to actually better use the office that they move to.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
Great question.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, David, first of all, you're presenting it very well, in my opinion. So what I just taken some notes, what I think is missing, not from the business, but from the specific 3-4 minute presentation that you gave. So I do understand that you actually have all the answers. So I'm not going to ask you questions. I'm just going to go through the notes. Okay. So sure. My understanding is this is a pre-Series A company. Therefore, I have some expectations. So here comes the roast part. Again, the pitch delivery was, in my opinion, amazing in the way of the pace, the voice, and the confidence that you gave. So that's quite rare, in my personal opinion. So let's look at what, in my opinion, was missing. And I'm going to wear the hat of an investor, so potentially a UK-based investor, by the way.
Sure.
So in my opinion, first of all, you started as Ben, the CEO of a fast-growing company in Hong Kong. And Ben has a number of problems. The first two sentences, in my opinion. So what I understand is you defined your business, the target audience as fast-growing company CEOs. That's what you said, actually. Then you gave 3 pain points, 1, 2, 3. It was a white page, but you didn't give any proof, which means you gave me the chance to say, I don't believe you. I would have used basically some footnotes and real references to some other third-party data. So I don't have I'm not going to have a chance of saying I don't believe you. There's a link I can click, and I don't question, let's say, the validity of the information given me, because this may not look like a problem in my country, for example, but it should still look like a proper business opportunity.
Sure.
Which takes us to the market slide, which was missing. So what does this market look like? Who is the customer in this case? Similarly, I think the traction slide was not there, or the numbers in general. You could have used it in different slides, obviously. What happened since day one? I'd like to know this, because I'm actually interested in the business. Funny enough, we have something like that in the office without the software. It's just a box.
Yeah.
But it was there when I rented this place. So I thought, okay, what about competition, which was also missing? Something that's probably something that was a big plus until last week was the $500,000 WeWork order. And I was thinking, okay, will they be able to actually pay it? I'm not sure. Probably yes, but we should be, I think, in this case, a little bit more careful. Also, look, what's in it for me as an investor? Like, why should I buy your company's shares as opposed to investing my money in, say, Apple or Tesla or something like that? You're basically saying I'm going to give you a better return in X years, which means the financial projections should have been there. That slide wasn't there. Maybe that's by design. I don't know, but it wasn't there. I love the team slide, even though I'm sure there are more people involved. Maybe you can use them. It looked like a manel, as we say here, like all 3 men, which is interesting. They like people look at this detail in the UK, the diversity angle, and most importantly, I think the ask was missing. Meaning, are you raising money? How much? And what are you offering in return? I do believe you have answers for all of these, but this presentation didn't have it. Maybe by design, maybe not. And I think how I also pitch was usually I would leave enough for you to ask a question so we could actually facilitate a conversation. But overall, I think it's a great business, but I want to believe it by seeing the numbers.
Thanks for that. Look, these are all great points, and what I will say is that this wasn't crafted as an investment or investor pitch. This was really by design, focused on actually more. The ask was more partnerships, intros into potential customers, pilots, etc. Obviously, you're right. I mean, if this was a specific investor pitch, I would have our numbers. I'd have our traction numbers. I'd have some specific details in terms of the market size, which actually I didn't. It's actually some of that's in the presentation in the appendix. I just didn't go into it actually. But I take your point about the, certainly about the, the lead-in or sort of the hook going into the, into the problem. That is actually a key one. This is something where, look, we thought long and hard about how to actually position this, and this kind of reflects. I think what you've caught is a bit of a not a dilemma, I think that's the wrong word, but sort of with our business, what we see is actually, when we talk to a real estate developer or when we're talking to an enterprise who's looking for this, the need is slightly different, right? As you can imagine, like a real estate developer that's got a ton of space, they're going to be looking at this opportunity slightly different than, say, an enterprise which is trying to redo their office. So definitely, I think you caught some of the tension that we have in that, because the clarification of that's always been a challenge for us. And part of this relates to actually who the decision makers that we talk to. So I'll give you an example. We just signed a major deal with PolyU, which I think I mentioned in the slide. the decision maker on that is the head of IT. We talked to WeWork, and it was the head of product. We talked to Standard Chartered Bank, and it's the head of innovation. So you've got all these different people that you're actually talking to, and so it's not like you can just, I wish it was a little bit easier that, okay, it's the head of real estate, or it's the head of whoever, and it becomes very, very straightforward. But I think that's sort of what you're catching is probably a reflection of some of the difficulties we've had in terms of really narrowing down and zeroing in on the decision makers as well.
But
so thank you for
in
the
this case-
feedback. I
In this
appreciate
case,
it.
what I understand is you're actually selling to the building rather than the tenants in most of
We
the
sell to
cases.
both, actually. We sell to
All right,
both.
then that's a problem for the problems, like because you need to tell it from the perspective of one company,
Yeah,
and then the market
absolutely.
slide changes, obviously.
Absolutely.
It's the same with two-sided marketplace as well. You got to pick one.
Yeah,
but again,
absolutely.
I think it's solving a real problem. I have no doubts, but I want to see the numbers.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Got it.
you only have a couple of minutes to pitch me or someone like me, right? Which means maybe I'll pass this to someone who's going to invest. So I'd love to understand the business model.
Sure.
Or the
look, I can give you a proper investor deck after,
Sure.
happy to kind of send that out to you for
But
sure.
my job was, assuming that this was an investor pitch, therefore,
Got it.
I comment back. Thank you very much, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey, real quick follow-up to that, because you could see it wasn't an investor deck, and I appreciate the explanation there as well, David. But I want to pick up on one thing that Atta said that got me thinking. As you presented the deck and the product, you pointed out that the real competition is the cost of renovation, which makes sense, obviously. But you're pitching, as you just pointed out, to the owners of the buildings as well as tenants, and you've got some of these other areas. But apart from cost of renovation, what do you see as the competition?
Yeah, there's always competition, right? And I won't be so, presumptuous to say that there is none. I think the opportunity, but also the challenge that we have is that, because this is very much a modular sort of end-to-end type solution, what you actually have is that we actually have different segments which are competitive, in which we see competitors. So, for example, we partner with office furniture companies such as Steelcase or Okamura and others, but at the same time, they are potentially competitors, right? They offer, or they're trying to offer certain solutions into their to their clients, which may or may not involve smart solutions. But for them, the technology is basically an add-on, and typically most office furniture companies kind of suck at it. So that's one part. There's another part, which is the pure technology angle. And so you get companies, for example, for smart access, there's a company in the US called Latch, right, which has been working with Tishman Speyer. They offer sort of the smart access mainly for residential. So that's kind of a competitor as well, but they don't really offer sort of the full end-to-end on the office. Similarly, look, if you break it down and look at the booths, there are a ton of booth providers out there, right? Ranging from, we know of people, tons from China, bunch from Malaysia. The US has some, I think Ukraine, Poland, there's some excellent products out there. As a standalone basis, they're actually, potentially competitors to us as well, but they don't typically have the tech-enabled solution on that. So potentially they are kind of like partners as well. In fact, what we're wanting to do is actually broaden the basis that we work with them. So no, I'd say direct competition, but competition in various aspects where we actually work with clients. So on a particular segment or a particular module that we're offering to the market.
I'd like to jump in here. Just David, first of all, great presentation.
Thank you.
And I don't want to repeat what Etta and Matt have already talked about, because I did think that those were some of the gaps. But I'd love to understand, I'm going to take a little bit of a spin and bring the sustainability angle. The world is moving more towards the sustainability field. We know that hybrid work is reality today. So how then are you putting that sustainability lens into the value proposition that you're bringing, which I thought was really missing as a piece of this, because you did touch on the construction costs, which of course reduces waste. But can you talk to me a little bit about what is that value proposition? So for example, organizations that have a net zero target, are now looking at doing sustainability, like really trying to hone in on their sustainability journey? How do you bring that value? How do you bring that lens? What is that overall metrics that you're hoping to sell through your product?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And look, you picked up on a very interesting thing. So, look, we know that there are sustainability, there are ESG aspects for our service, where, and from a very broad brushstroke. I'll give an example here in Hong Kong, where, when, for example, your lease is over, you are expected to return the unit to basically to the condition you found it, right? So there's a ton of waste that goes into the landfills, as an example, right? So one obvious application is the fact that with our solution, with our hardware and our software, basically you can just break that down and take that with you. So it's great from an investment perspective. It's also great from an environmental perspective. There's another part where, for example, like the furniture in the booth that we use, we only work with providers who have specific environmental certifications, right? With WeWork, for example, in London, we actually had to bring in, we actually worked with, with certification providers because they were concerned about, for example, formaldehyde emissions. So working to make sure that we passed those sorts of things. But there's a very simple answer where I haven't, or the reason I haven't gone deeper into that is that something that we're still trying to flesh out, because, everybody can talk about sustainability and ESG and look, with respect, I don't want to come across like I'm BSing this, right? There is a lot that goes into it, and candidly, I'd love to be able to have a conversation after with you and Kat to be able to better sort of ground this, so that we have some very, very specific data, very, very specific things that we can talk about, because it's there. But it's been more kind of like passing brushstrokes, number one. And number two, I mean, it's only now that ESG is starting to really get important in Asia. But obviously, when I was in Toronto last week for meetings, and that was a big thing, huge thing. And that's where we kind of realized, yeah, we need to talk about this more, but we need to talk about this more intelligently, as opposed to, we can do ESG. I mean, that's pretty, for me, that's just lame, right? So I'd love the opportunity to kind of chat with you and Kat afterwards, if you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's really important is being out there and trying to flesh out what are the competitors. So when you talk about your competitors, how are they leveraging this platform to amplify what they're doing? So I actually invite you to come to COP28, which is happening in Dubai next in a few days, actually, I think in less than 30 days. So, come and find out what is your competition, what is happening, because the world is moving this way, whether you like it or you don't like it.
Absolutely.
And we have to figure out that value. And I think that value will help you attract more investors, as investors are also changing their appetite for where they're choosing to invest their money, and what is that, and how does that help them on their returns. So I think I would add that. I'll let Katrina, I know she has something she wants to add.
Okay, so I will jump in now. Well, first of all, great presentation. I really like the persona identification at the very beginning. So yeah, that was really catchy from the marketing perspective. And great comments, everyone. So the only thing I would like to add, because all the gaps have been, I feel, really discussed. So the ESG thing, I don't know if I would call it ESG. I would concentrate on sustainability. And on one hand, I would show the credentials that you have as a company, because a lot of corporates now, they look for business partners who are responsible. And from what she's saying, you do have that responsibility in you. You're looking into materials. Maybe you have, selected providers that are net zero. I would just list that. And for the customer, for the end customer, for the client, I would list the sustainability, to something like a sustainability passport, where I would show, for example, look into different green building certificates. I would look into BREEAM, I would look into WELL, and I would see what points could the customer potentially get with that solution. Is there something, because you're right, people do not really understand sustainability globally. So if we talk about climate change and all those, big ideas, we don't really get through to clients, but they need very tangible and very specific benefits that they can link to with your solutions. And one more thing that was missing for me, if I wanted to, because I understood there was a call for partners. So if I wanted to be a partner here in my market, how could I present the benefits to my clients? So that I think that there was already Atta mentioned that thing, but this this value for the client was not really visible for me. I mean, having this presentation, I know I wouldn't be able to sell your solution to my clients. Like
no,
fully.
that's a really that's a really good point. And look, that's something that I think I could probably flesh out a bit more. No, look, so Alida and Katerina, I mean, this is great because it's funny. I was actually talking with my co-founders literally the other day, about sustainability and how we need to capture and reflect and communicate this better. So this has already been really helpful for us. And look, I hope you don't mind, but I'll definitely be following up with you guys with the call, or to see if you're open to a further discussion.
Absolutely, anytime.
Pleasure.
The other thing I would say, one more last point that I had is we should also think about it from an experience perspective, right? As you're selling this, you're selling an experience. You're trying to optimize the way people are building. So I know, and I tell you from experience, when I go into some of these booths, you feel like you're suffocating in there. I feel like someone's put me in jail. So, that experience of how people feel in that space for a period of time is also very important. And I say this because I had no choice but to go into some of these booths at some time, right? So it should be something people want to go into, not try to avoid, but only use as a last resort within the office space. So, some anecdotal stories that explains kind of that journey, your journey from everything from the financial piece of it, how people feel about it, sustainability, which gives your investors confidence that the product is worth investing in. It has a great proposition. People love it. And here's my return on investment.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Look, one of the things, and this the nice thing about this is the more we do, the more clients that we actually put out there, the more data we're getting. And I mean that from both a user experience perspective as well as say a building manager or an office manager perspective as well. So look, I'll give you an example. Like we're running. We decided to actually, we don't do B2C typically, but we did actually launch in conjunction with the developer a public offer, at one of the malls, or a couple of the malls here in Hong Kong. And part of this was just to get that data, just like you're saying, right? So some people, the feedback you get from that is, oh no, it's too hot, or it's stuffy, or no, I loved it, or and so being able to quantify that, or at least through follow-up studies, is something that we're actually doing. Particularly, look, I think the key thing here is, a concept is great until it hits reality, right? And the best thing that you can get is actual user client feedback from that. And so we are compiling that. We're getting more on that. One thing I'll just throw in there on the data side as well is that one of the things, and I don't want to call this AI, again, I have this allergy just throwing out buzzwords, right? But as we get more of this information from clients, from the people that we're working with, we're actually able to start using the data to do predictive analytics, right? So in other words, for example, for future malls, we're actually in discussions with another mall in North America, mall owner in North America, be able to use some of the experiences and data that we've collected through our other sort of public mall offerings, allows us to start making predictions and recommendations and working with clients to be able to have a better experience as well, right? So so that all of that is really useful information. I need to find a way to try to put that in.
David, I'm just thinking based on what been now discussed, because actually I'm sitting in one of those booths. I don't know if you've noticed. It's very tiny.
Yeah.
But there is a study done by the neurosensitive design guidelines. And because the neurosensitivity is a big thing now, so the people have different levels of acceptance of noise, light, etc., etc. And there are design guidelines that have been put into place to address that. And one of the things that they talk about regarding the booths is that they do not really appeal to neurosensitive people because there is the noise, the fresh air that you need to pump in makes a noise, and someone who is really neurosensitive cannot stand it for a long time. So maybe that's it's been recognized, it's been said out loud. So maybe that's something, that you could talk to your partners and to see if that's the case. Maybe there's a solution about it, and then you could mention it. Sure. And another thing of the benefits is because it's such a small space, and we've tested many booths already, and some do really have problems with that. Some producers. That if the materials used are not certified and they are not zero volcanic compounds, they can be quite smelly, and then again you get headaches quite easily sitting in those booths. So the materials used for such a small enclosed space really need to be healthy.
Yeah, materials are actually part.
And it's
it
good
is very
to mention that. Yeah,
because we've done certification for all of our products, right? So, on the hardware, I think I mentioned, earlier with WeWork, we actually did SGS certification on them, for example, for formaldehyde, right? And, and they were very strict on that. So being able to show or demonstrate, or at least allude to some of the hoops that we've jumped through as a company. I mean, look, even data protection, right? So we're GDPR compliant, for example, right? They're with the sensors, we do not collect personal data. So all of this kind of stuff, it does go into making more powerful, it sort of puts some of the objections and concerns, potential concerns to rest. So it's a little bit what I think Atta was saying as well, just to be able to, reflect more of that. So, but thank you for that. I appreciate the feedback.
Hey, David, do the spaces have complete blackout capabilities in terms of, curtains and everything, so that it becomes a complete private space?
Yeah, that's really up to the clients. So what we typically do, so we see everything from, with the China Chem, for example, in their malls, obviously we didn't want that option because, if everything is completely private, you don't know what's going to happen in a public space, right? So what we do is we actually provide, sort of frosting for them. And that can be sort of a design element and even advertising or whatnot. We've also experimented with, there's, I guess it's like e-paper or e-glass, so that basically you run a current through it, a film that sits on the glass, and you can actually turn completely opaque. There are other clients that we have that have put in, for example, as you point out, curtains, just again for additional privacy. Or blinds. That's definitely an option as well. But it's really, we leave this for enterprise deployments. We really leave it up to the client as how they actually want to manage that.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is we have a client that has in their headquarters facilities about 8,000 employees and a couple of really large, almost like call center type places. It's a mortgage company, but they have a lot of meditation rooms that they people just to be able to get away because it's always noisy. It's always things for them. Correct. Partnering with them. So that was a thought there. It could be
Oh, we totally could do that. So the OEM that we work with right now is rated to 25 decibel sound reduction. So when you go in, so if it's too quiet, it's actually, you have a pop in the ears, the negative air pressure or positive, whatever air pressure, it's actually a bit uncomfortable. It's also actually a hazard. So if there's an alarm going off outside and you can't hear it, obviously it's a bit problematic, right? So letting in a tiny bit of sound in, but what we find is that sort of 25 decibels is a good reduction. It's all the background noise gets pretty much cut out, but it's not uncomfortably quiet when you go in. And so there's a bit of, you hear a bit of that. But as far as being able to make things more private, either it's blackout screens or curtains or blinds or sort of, the frosting, stuff like that. We definitely, look, we've seen a huge variety of the ways clients want to be able to ensure privacy or quiet space for their employees.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
So I have a very, I will keep it short. So basically, I just have two questions on, one is on the business model, and then your future roadmap, like where you guys are heading towards. Like, I understand from the presentation, like this is a B2B model, but you guys do have booked application where like you have individual access to where you guys face B2C as well. And with these collective data sets and predictive analytics, everything, right? Do you guys have any roadmap intended to become a full-fledged facility management as well, like to provide full-scale solutions like in your roadmap?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And this is what I'm going to share is kind of, it reflects a little bit of my personal biases versus, say, my co-founders. I actually see a really interesting opportunity to roll this out on a wider scale, perhaps as a fully managed service. So, whether it's sort of like a WeWork Lite or, a sort of industrious type model. But obviously, instead of having to spend millions of dollars on fit outs and renovations, you actually can roll this out on a very cost effective model because it is completely transformational in terms of the actual cost basis. I see an opportunity for that. That is something that we're exploring. I think where the gap is, we're not sure that we want to be the ones doing it. Much as I am interested in doing that, but I think what we might do is some sort of for example, a franchising model in the US as an example, where we could work, similar to 24/7 fitness, for example. I think there's a lot of similar sort of dynamics at play. Where our focus actually is in terms of roadmap is much more in terms of the sort of the tech and the product development. So I mentioned, in terms of our next stages where, we want to be able to support sort of multiple hardware providers via API. So essentially, we're only the platform. That is something, the platform as a service is definitely something that we see, as something that we want to continue to do. That for me is quite powerful in the sense that, we are no longer beholden to a specific OEM or a specific hardware provider, and all, basically it's the client that can then make the choice, and then we just plug them in via API. So that's one major thing for our roadmap. The other thing for our roadmap is currently the Book2Go, the app for the bookings of say short-term workspaces and meeting rooms, is not currently fully integrated with Cubic, and we want to be able to integrate that because being able to have, for example, Chinachem being able to market, say, to people across Hong Kong or across Asia for their various spaces across various cities. Having the Book2Go app as part of that integration is pretty powerful. So we definitely want to do that. But in the short term, I think it's, look, it's a great question. I think it's something that I would like to do, but we're not sure that we want to go directly and spend that money. Because obviously, look, it's even with reduced investment of, like $70 per square foot as opposed to 200, it still does add up if you start, addressing a market like the US or Europe. So that's still going to be a pretty huge investment.
Got it. Perfect.
Thank you, Sasi. Any final comment, any final guidance for David for Booked before we hang up?
I think my last comment would be
let us know if you can do anything
trying.
for you.
Keep innovating, and this space of sustainability will open up a lot of doors for you. I would say really hone in on that. And I would say take to heart what everybody's given you. I think they've given you some really key advice.
It's been great advice. Absolutely great feedback.
So all the best. I'm looking forward to keeping in touch.
Yes, absolutely.
And David, anything we can do? Anything that we can do to help? Happy to brainstorm. Talk a little bit more. Talk from an alliance standpoint, but happy to continue a dialogue post this session here.
I appreciate that. That's fantastic. Much appreciated.
Okay, Katarzyna, do you want to go next?
Well, thank you for having me here. And as I said before, I'm happy to connect and continue the dialogue and maybe help.
Definitely. I think David will need a lot of help on fine-tuning the sustainability messaging and value prop. So Alida and Katarzyna, he will definitely reach out to you for one-on-one session and getting your guidance on that. So really appreciate that. And Matt, just so you know, David was in the US and Canada recently, mostly focusing on the East Coast side to really see how he can build more partnership and customer ecosystem in Greater New York City area and in Toronto area and so on and so forth. So obviously your help would be highly appreciated to definitely into the ecosystem. Sashi?
Thanks, David. It's a nice presentation and all the
Thank
best. And I would love to have more sessions. I have a lot of questions, but time is limited. I'm not in the property side, but I do have a lot of curiosity to learn on that side as well. When time permits, definitely we'll catch up again and we'll have a lot of discussions.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I can conclude with saying I'm Turkish, but I live in the UK, so I can help with both markets, either for distribution or fundraising. So happy to
Fantastic.
connect.
Yeah.
I actually sent you a connection request, so we can talk.
Great. Thank you so much, and really appreciate the feedback from all of you. It's been just really, really valuable to me. So thank you once again.
Yeah, and definitely we should definitely thank jurors, but we should also thank you, David, for doing this in public forum. Again, it requires a lot of audacity to do this kind of thing in public, get the feedback, have a smile on your face, and learn from that feedback. So kudos to you. Thanks a lot to you. Yeah.
Thank you. No, I'm not so arrogant as to think there's not more to learn. There's always more to learn, right? And I appreciate you sharing both your time and your experience.
Yeah.
And Pankaj, thank you as well for setting this up.
No worries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate everybody's time today, and we'll reconnect soon. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.